I think that that's yet another factor that XSET are going to have to deal with inside of this matchup. Let's take a look at the bans, though, as we're going live with the match.
Yes, indeed. And Jacko going to get removed from the Sonics, or that'll take away from the info game. We might see them lean into something like a Lion and Dokkaebi because of that. But I have to completely agree with you with your point here on Rexen. That was actually his worst showing, John, since they played against TSM in Stage 2 inside of the NAL. So, you know, not excluding the Mexico Major, obviously, at least NAL-wise, I believe that it's a one-off, and I really think that we can see him bounce back today. Nomad is also going to be a big ban here. They'll remove that, and that's something that Yeti was using last week to really lock up that top floor and make a lot of these aggressive rotations very difficult for the defense. That's going to be followed up with a Valkyrie ban, and that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, so everything following true pretty much as we expect so far. On the attack, though, specifically trying to target anti-roam, so we'll see how much of an opportunity that will present, more than anything, to the Sonics here inside of the first step at XSET once they get an opportunity to do so as well. Sonics going to keep things interesting on the bans as we see Smoke as the final operator to get knocked out. That will deal with the usual delay potential that comes out from Smoke on the upstairs site, specifically inside of Hookah and Billiards, where we see they get used the most, but plenty of other sites besides that.
They will have Hibana on prod here yet again, just like we saw last week.
Let's see here, the Thunderbird coming out once more. This is going to allow for more aggressive peaks. Basically, it sets up these stim stations for the members of the Sonics to hop into, get a little bit of a health boost, and then pop back out in more hot button areas of this hold, such as the peek into Hookah doorway, the big window by Billiards, as well as plenty other places around this site. We'll have that little bit of extra freedom to play, and we'll see how exactly this will re-enable some aggressive potential to come out from the Sonics, or just greater capability for them to hold in positions they would normally have to give up at the midpoint of the round. For XSET, of course, bringing a pretty straightforward lineup to the table to attack this site, focusing primarily on soft breach more than anything. A little bit of hard breach to deal with the quad wall going onto the inside of Billiards, and of course, the Yana being brought on Razor for intel.
Yeah, obviously we did end up seeing the Smoke in this position the last week, but they've actually ended up switching things up inside of the operator pool here for them, obviously presented with that Smoke and that the Sonics gave. So they're adding a Rooney here as well as Malusi. One of those two was the one added. I can't exactly remember, but the Thunderbird is indeed the one that we did end up seeing in this position the last time with that very unique setup for Vase, and it's actually the only Thunderbird that we've been that has been seen so far inside of the NAL. We're out and onto the field now with XSET starting to break things up with a very big double bar take here, but mostly centralized around Sunrise. Kansan obviously knowing that this is going to be a hologram. Lots of intel coming in onto him, though. He chooses to back off.
Yeah, still a little bit too suspicious of a situation for Kansan to continue to play into, so he will back away up Cool Vibes as a result of that. NVK has made an entry towards service, but he has also figured out that Yeti is somewhere in the neighborhood. Where exactly, I don't think he knows just yet, but I know he's going to pick up that kill against Grixer. Think it's all clear, and Yeti will be able to swing right back out for an immediate translation on that first kill, bringing us back onto even terms.
Unfortunate for NVK there. Right foot forward to start the day, but immediately refrag, so still equal across the board here. XSET will get control of Sunrise, and they'll start pushing across. Don't have to worry about too much. Looks for a possible player near the office area that we might have ended up seeing there for just a split second. But for Sonics, they're simply sitting still. They want to try and waste as much time as possible, and actually, that was a silhouette through the floor. Everybody's upstairs and currently waiting on XSET's next move, and they have a few soft breachers that can indeed have an effect vertically inside of the Hookah area, but it's really not going to play into this too much. Sonics are still going to be able to hold on to Vase, as well as a multitude of other areas inside of the site, and just simply hold off XSET at their entry points. They haven't really chosen where they want to go yet, as they're still spread. We actually still have Filthy here on the double bar, or excuse me, the double window here for Billiards, but he's soon going to drop off. XSET just simply trying to poke around and see where these remaining SQ members are, but nobody giving up too much.
Coming down to the last third of the round here, the Sonics have pulled a large majority of their players back onto the site, or at least in the general area of it, defending at most Cool Vibes as an extension away from it here as they wait for XSET to make their final play in the 4v4. They're perfectly fine with the advantage they've been able to gather by trading out the first lost gunfight and the damage onto Prod, so they'll wait now for the attackers to make the next move here. Would come from Razor, but there's hesitance at the moment from XSET as they're trying to deal with any remaining defending utility on the site. I believe successfully, but one once again, just kind of waiting at the wings, trying to see if anyone from the Sonics wants to make a move, and they are doing so. Rex is just popping out right there for a quick peek, and finally it looks like Kansan doing the same thing on Cool Vibes. He can only go 1 for 1, though, as Razor trades it back out. Yeti also tried to get aggressive, but was forced back, so he's going to be holding, and so will Rex, and his heat will be isolated out. That's the plant opportunity now being opened up here by the attackers. Even worse, oh no! They missed the player in the corner of the big window.
Issues to the Sonics. Past that, not really too much for XSET, as we were talking about before. Very straightforward with the hookah take there, as well as the billiards window repel.
Yeah, Filthy having that window repel pretty much saves the day. Sonics did have very easy capability to rotate back in and more than likely get a Nitro Cell off against the plant. But unfortunately for the Sonics, they missed that player just in the corner of the window. Filthy tears both of them to pieces, and along with one additional kill that's found deeper in the site, probably the Planter defending themselves. That's going to be victory on the board for XSET as they start off their attacking half. Well, Sonics will not feel too keen to repeat the same feat upstairs here at Billiards and Hookah. We'll go down one floor to a very similar set of rooms here at the double bars, but on a much different floor and a much different defending strategy needed to try and put a point on the board by defending it here. You can see blue bar going to be opened up as we usually expect. That will allow for greater play for the extended defenders over here towards the front of the building, which will be trying to waste time for the large majority of this round. Aside from that, the bunker still inside of Sunrise, and I believe Service and Barrels will be played pretty heavily here by the Sonics also.
XSET won't be changing things up too much, sticking to their guns, and you can see why. This has been a very solid fragging round for them, and that's something that us as well as the desk was talking about. We'd seen a lot of it from Filthy as well as Razor, but everybody else lacking in the department. Grixter now stepping up to the plate. He'll take down NVK. He'll be the opening blood, but Filthy able to fire back, but not before he loses quite a bit of his own HP. It's still an office take here as Rexon's starting to make mincemeat of a few of these players, but Prod will fire back as well. It's a 3 versus 3 early on here now as XSET have control of office, and they simply need to start pushing forward onto this wall. That'll be Prod's job next as we begin breaking this up.
Rexon hard committing, trying to assert an advantage instead will end up costing the team. It has be equalized instead down to a 3 versus 3. Only a minute gone from the round as well, so still plenty of time for XSET to examine the now very spread out defense from the Sonics and figure out a way to tear it apart. Meanwhile, XSET can play things together or as apart as they would like, given the situation, so a slight edge goes to them as a result of that. Yeti's aggressive capability will be reduced quite a bit due to the loss of this soft wall over here in Billiards. Can no longer freely swing as he has to watch out for a potential hold from Prod up there now, but Prod won't be sticking around. As you can see, he's already rotated back down into the office to potentially get ready for the first attempt to push through and get the case down onto the ground. Teammates should be supporting nearby, as this is going to be the most obvious path forward for XSET. It looks like we've got those support angles now coming out primarily from the blue window.
Oh, big nade, but it's actually going to end up doing 0 damage to Super here. Another issue presented to XSET besides this mirror window is their lack of intel across the board. Creator's the only one with an active drone unless somebody has one set up, and oh no, this is looking very similar to what we saw from the Sonics, and they should have been ready, but XSET calls something very similar. They've worked their way into Sunrise. They overwhelm the Sonics, and now Kansan, the lone member of the Sonics, to try and get something done here with the 1 versus 2. He's got plenty of ammo, but he's going to need some nice aim to get out of this. Prod locked in behind the Sunrise bar. He's going to take the initial aim duel here, but Kansan still able to stay alive. Prod gonna go with it for the second. Keep an equal man count throughout most of this game, which as before, that was a far cry from what we had been seeing. It was mostly the Razor show as well as Filthy tagging on every once in a while as they were trying to usually fight back from a numbers down situation, but this time around, not the case. Excited to see what XSET can do for the rest of this game, but as of right now, they're honestly looking great. Yeah, NVK has been the initial pick twice, or at least traded out on his initial pick, but still, they've been able to get something done up against the Sonics, and it's looking really good right now. Remember, the Sonics just played this map against SSG last week and actually looked very, very good.
They need to take it all the way to the end of regulation to close it out, but I was considering Sonics had a very dominating defensive half for the most part that eventually went 4-2 after leading 4-0 at the start of it versus SSG. So this is already a very, very different game right from the start for the Sonics here, as they're now struggling in that defensive half to pick up even a single round. We'll see if number 3 is going to be the charm here, however, for them. XSET out and about and split in the opening seconds of this round, as for the most part, they'll just be trying to establish positions to do more drone work here and figure out what exactly this trickier setup from the Sonics is going to look like upstairs in the theater.
This one's going to be pretty unique as the site's changed up quite a lot. You guys probably heard about Kickstarter talking about this earlier today, but a few of the windows have been shut off in this area, making the 90 position, as well as the walls being added inside of VIP, making this a lot easier to play around for the defense. They'll be able to control this space and hold on to it for a while depending on the setup. At least this one for the Sonics not going to be as strong of a defensive standpoint in this area, so we will see the Jaeger immediately slide out of that space, but still, it's a lot easier to play around this overall for these defenders, and that's something that XSET will have to deal with going forward. They're not going to get the greatest start, as NVK is going to falter for the second time in a row as the first blood, but as we'd expect, Razor will actually fight back, and he'll take down Yeti.
And he will die on the cross there. We'll bring things back on even terms for another round here. Initial advantage, yes, going by the way of Sonics, but it doesn't stay that way for very long. Kansan, peeking the doorway, going to get found out here, but he will maintain that position regardless. No one from XSET in the neighborhood to put that pressure back onto him. However, Rexon takes another challenge and nearly loses it as he goes down to just a sliver of his HP. However, will ultimately take that player down on the other side, trying to come in from the VIP balcony from the looks of things and getting knocked out. NVK and Filthy out of the match for the time being for XSET here, but more on their way into the building. Prod, Enter King from the last round, going to try to do this one more time on the Hibana as he starts to lurk back around against the theater hold. However, look at the spot from Grixer. Moves in. Unfortunately, he's only going to get a good angle onto the Gemini more than anything here, so we'll give away his position a bit prematurely. They'll now be able to react to that, and even worse, the pressure will continue to broil onto Kansan. These two players will have to try and find some way to work together despite not being in the most advantageous way to play off of each other.
XSET splitting things up right now. Sonics truthfully not knowing which way this is going to come from, although this is a stack here towards the theater side, and Kansan's definitely ready. A few more bodies going to get taken down as XSET simply overwhelmed the defense of the Sonics yet again. Grixer's still locked downstairs, but they're ready for him. He's been around this area the entire time, and he shot that Gemini forever. Can really still have these active plays going on, and that's something that XSET has been able to do. They continue working the map, and it's just been very well done thus far. The Sonics obviously having a read on that in a certain sense the last time around, but I mean, with the way that we ended up seeing, I believe Grixer that last time there on the Aruni, it just simply was all for naught. He simply sat at the bottom of white. He doesn't have a nitro cell or anything, and he can't push the smoke once that goes down either, because that they know he's in that space. He tries to hold on to it for the entirety of the rest of the round as well, and just really didn't do anything for him and the Sonics. So really just need to see them getting back towards that site-centric play and trying to shut down XSET when they go for these harsh executes. But now into round 4, folks. We're past the timeout here for the Sonics, and we'll be getting to see what the adjustments are.
So, once again, the Thunderbird layout going down upstairs to allow for those aggressive swings, as well as a little bit of a boost when the pressure starts to broil in from XSET. XSET, I'm imagining, is largely going to approach things the same way, but they might not be able to, as Kansan gets aggressive instead. Nearly has revenge thrown at him from the pull door. Might still be the case here. Both sides of that entryway going to get opened up, so Kansan will have to force himself out very early on, but that's after he connects a very good amount of damage onto Filthy, bringing him down to about 30% of his overall HP.
Well, the good news is that XSET has not lost NVK just yet. We really want to see a change up for him here as well, as he's been first blood the last 2 rounds in a row, and Sledge has quite a large impact across the board, whether it be from vertical play or the frag grenades that come inside of Sledge's kit. The biggest thing is obviously here is that he won't be able to use that hammer. The frag grenade's going to be a little bit more important, but the biggest importance is him staying alive as of right now. XSET will be starting things off here inside of Sunrise as we begin to work this space once again, and this is looking practiced along with these EMPs going down. Not going to be able to get rid of the ADSs, but they'll at least be able to get rid of a few bits and pieces that are going to try and get one of these walls open. But the cross angle's solid here for the Sonics. They'll be able to step up as Filthy's not working the billiards window. They'll get rid of those exothermic charges, or excuse me, those X-Kairos charges on the wall here for Vase, and keep that wall locked up.
Half the round gone here. A much slower approach so far from XSET, but remember, it was a big build-up the last time this was attacked as well here. So far, XSET has been slow and steady to try to get themselves an opening pick, and for the most part, that strategy has been panning out, but it seems this time, Sonics may have learned their lesson. They're playing it back. They're running the time down themselves now, not giving XSET a single inch on the inside of this play. As long as they have everything covered, this should continue to work, but it was the snake through coal vibes that costed them again on that last defense, as we're seeing Razor creep towards it so far with just the Gemini, but you can see Creators a couple steps behind, ready to move in himself. The first true player going to insert themselves into this play.
Well, minimal time now for XSET to get something done here, and so far Thatcher has not done too much across the board. They went for that EMP play, but nobody was playing the billiards window. Would have liked to see somebody else in that role, but it doesn't seem like it's going to matter all that much. Prod has already started the plant as well after 2 picks come in. Super will get taken down from Filthy's position, but finally it's one out here from the Sonics. They won't be able to stop the plant, and actually Prod's going to get out. I thought that Kansan had the frag, but just not enough bullets inside of the Roni there as we go into the post plant. And they've been pretty solid on these overall. It's a 2 versus 3 for them, as well as the Sonics being on quite low HP. And as well as with that laser gate, they're definitely going to know when this thing starts to get diffused. He tries to swing out, but a multitude of people out here, but it's actually creators to strike first. I mean, this is just a huge change up from what we saw from last week here for the Sonics. You know, not very much impact across the board for any of these players. I mean, even between Rexon and Grixer, it's 4 and 8 for them combined, and we haven't had anybody else step up to the plate. It's just XSET simply taking it to the Sonics right now. So for the Sonics, they're going to be going down to the double bar. They want to try this once again here. Super will be on the mirror window, and the last time that we ended up seeing this site defensively for the Sonics, we ended up having, a Spider-Man meme at the end of the day. It was just pointing at each other as XSET uses the exact same strategy as the Sonics used against SSG last week with an insane play into Sunrise to get a plant down and successfully take the round. XSET have not dropped a single one of these yet, so you know how that ended up going down. We're out and onto the field now. We'll see if the Sonics are able to shut it down this time around, or if XSET can continue their perfect streak.
So it's going to be the double bar hold coming out here once again for the Sonics. They will bring the Thunderbird back into the play, where I don't believe that was brought on the last defense of this site, bringing something else to the fold instead here. A lot of on-site defense and general trap play oriented out for this defense as well, between Evil Eyes, the Black Miras, as well as Jaegers and Malusi's capability to slow things down and mitigate other forms of utilities. So XSET gonna have to clear out a lot, but as we've already been seeing over the past 4 rounds, clearing out seems to be their specialty, and a slow and steady process of doing so. That's been working out great for them. So far, an unresponded to entry coming in from XSET. It doesn't look like there's going to be a response anytime soon, unless someone can sneak something in from the upstairs hatchwork. But Sonics have no one positioned up there from what I can see on the silhouettes. Even worse, their attempts to potentially swing here aggressively. It's going to be caught hook, line, and sinker by NVK. This is a clean start to the round, and it could get even cleaner as NVK nearly gets himself a 3rd duel.
Well, XSET has the control again to go for something very similar, but this might be extremely straightforward at the end of the day. Might just see the plant inside of blue and a simple protection of the hatch here for Fish. Rexon's upstairs currently inside of luggage, so he could have something to do with this, but I don't expect too much. I actually didn't even know that wouldn't actually bust the Gemini, so actually pretty interesting that you can do that off the roof, and that's going to find at least some information as to where these remaining Sonics members are. Filthy will go down. Rexon will end up cleaning that up from upstairs, but obviously the jig is up. Everyone knowing that this hatch is going to be of vital importance to the defense and their success going forward inside of this round as the execute starts to go off. Prod will start planting. Super not attentive to the situation either. He's taking a lot of heat from Razor. He'll take down Super, and it's all up to Rexon inside of a 1 versus 4 with minimal HP.
Rexon trying to use these pixel angles way at the front of the building to hopefully catch a couple players, and he's definitely caught some damage, but the problem is the response that was thrown against him inside of that hatch has made him unable to take any direct fights. Every single remaining member of XSET is still at full HP, so he will be at a disadvantage if they are looking at the same angle here. Rod already knows that Rexon wants to play, and you can see here, he is struggling to find some type of way to make this happen, so we'll just go for it on the inside of security, and considering the map we're on, and they will lose out a lot of the potential early advantage as a result of that, and then likely get collapsed upon inside of the late round just because of the more open nature of Coastline's sites. In the meantime, every time they try to play it out aggressively, for the most part, they're losing that first duel or two, or at best, trading it out to an even numbers game, while still leaving a good 2 minutes on the clock for XSET to spend droning out the entire site and the remaining 3 or 4 player setup for the Sonics and figuring out exactly how to handle in one fell swoop, as we've seen happen time and time again here. Just these beautiful executes coming out from XSET. They've faded away a little bit as we've gotten further into the half, and the Sonics have gotten a grasp on how to handle some of this, but especially earlier on at the start of this game, XSET were just waltzing onto site, and it was a sea of orange kills here as Sonics just could not contain the aggression. Let's see how this last round will go for XSET, and it's not going to start very well here. NVK getting spammed out, I believe, from kitchen window or somewhere nearby. Looks like upstairs inside of Hookah instead, that he gets spammed from there and down through it. Now, probably going to get revived. No way anyone's probably going to hop out to confirm that one, and that will see a nade or Nitro Cell be able to reach that far, but still, XSET aren't taking any chances. They're being cautious here while they get someone over there to bring him back up.
Yeah, very. Last thing you want to do is try and lose 2 people for the price of 1. NVK is going to be working with minimal HP throughout the rest of this round, but any impact that he has is still going to be a big thing for them. As we saw earlier, he was lacking in an impactful department overall, and they've finally gotten him online. He's looking a heck of a lot better. Filthy also going to get lit up outside as the Sonics find a cheeky ankle onto his ankle, but ends up not taking him down. As for XSET, though, they're going to be set up and poised right outside of Towels. Haven't really made any direct push here just yet. Still trying to figure out what the Sonics essentially want to do. And this is really the first time that the Sonics have had XSET on their back foot early. So it's a great start for them and something that we could see them try and get done with throughout the rest of this round. This is going to present this moment in time inside of the mid-round where it's going to be a patient game here from XSET. They really need some intel as to where the Sonics are, because if they do overstep, they're going to end up losing way too many bodies, and getting that bomb down is going to be a very, very big issue.
So with only 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock here, XSET fighting from a slight back foot inside of this round, a position they're not necessarily used to being in, but they are used to the slow approach, the slow lead up to the site when their momentum gets slowed down a little bit. So not going to be an end of the world scenario for them. They're taking things extra cautious, though, to avoid losing these already lit players between NVK and Filthy. Another one goes low here, eventually gets knocked out entirely. Could be an end of this execute before it even gets started. NVK, despite the low HP, takes his first challenge of the round and wins it versus Rex. And Creators also has an idea of the blue bar hold here, but Super, regardless, elsewhere is going to be able to pick up the next kill. Kansan, coming down through cool vibes, takes out NVK finally and brings us down to a 4v3. As the members of XSET get ready to try and put more and more pressure on the setup from the Sonics, but ultimately the Sonics are ready for it. Grixer on his blue bar hold now puts off the efforts from Sunrise, as that's going to be another member of the XSET roster falling. Creators is going to attempt to exchange that, but he can't get a good lock on a Grixer's position. Now he will, but never mind. Grixer wins it out instead, and Prod, the XSET roster, I should say the first go-to for these guys, as they will jump onto the defensive half. 5-1 is still going to be a massive scoreline at the end of the day, even with the generally assumed attacker-sided nature of this map, even though I think it's slightly edged to defenders by like 1 or 2% based off the last land stats. But regardless now, XSET have an opportunity to try and close things down with only 2 rounds needed out of 6 in this half in order to get the job done. Nothing crazy coming out, at least in terms of operator picks for this extension into theater now, as they will choose this as their first site, and as well the usual emphasis going down on stopping the VIP pressure, creating a little box for the attackers to take control of for free, but not to get any further than that, realistically.
All right, well, as we see the full breadth of XSET's setup here, they're going to be locking up the 90 panel, so make it just a touch more difficult for Sonics to start getting pressure in that space. So XSET will more than likely be able to hold on to that and play through it if necessary. Also holding on to VIP as well. Panels reinforced on both ends, especially the one counter to the 90 panel we were talking about previously. That's going to limit that bookshelf angle from Billiards that we've been starting to see more and more often since they changed up this space quite a bit. More than likely just going to have the Kaid in here, and funny enough, Prod not playing that, as that is one of his routine characters. It's going to be Filthy instead, and he's more than likely going to hold on to that other Electro Claw, wait for Super to try and get something on the panels here and end up getting rid of those. So we'll have to see how that ends up breaking down. It is going to be the Sonics starting things off on this side here, the north side, handling the VIP wall. Is that going to end up getting EMP'd? Yes, it will, and as well as a Twitch drone, I believe, for good measure from Rexon.
You can see here Filthy, where he's hidden his electric claw right up in the corner here, making it very difficult for the members of the Sonics to get past his position here once he takes a duel, and obviously Sonics come out as the winner of it. Minute gone from the round, though, and a relative amount of inactivity across the map here, as neither team able to get the right foot forward to find at least an opening kill. As you can see, though, the Sonics with a lot of drone were going through the site at the moment here, so they're going to have a very good idea as to what the overall setup should look like after those two have snuck their way through, specifically so long into the back of theater for the good 5 or 10 seconds that one was rolling around. Initial smoke goes in to cover off the theater hold. The secondary player will rotate back around, and a nice sneak there. You could see it from the top down. The Twitch drone sneaks in the elimination of the mirror window, so now can successfully challenge Filthy and to some extent Creators in his position back here if the angle is appropriate for the attackers here. Filthy, though, very much still ready for the challenge despite the broken window, and the Sonics still taking their time on said angles, waiting it down here as we approach the last minute.
This gets scary here for both of these teams, but NV King, actually, for XSET on this one, finally able to muster a first blood, and one that could change up a lot of what the Sonics are capable of inside of this one. It's going to be on to Kansan. Nitro cell out, but it's going to get shot from the window player. Second one also gets taken out as well, and Super, he's got the best cover in the game. Yeti able to take down 2 Nitros and Prod, and Sonics push it into post plant. Sonics going to come to life as well, as now the entirety of the roster eliminating XSET off of Coastline as of right now. The last 2 remaining members downstairs are going to have to climb white stairs and try and get something done, but it looks as though Sonic's post-plant setup is going to be too harsh. Look at these angles right now, especially this one from Grixter. He's going to be able to work the center panel. Can he get both? It's going to be exclamation point sense there for Yeti, because I need to get my grid shot up somehow, man. I don't know really what else I can do. Got to steal the pros senses now.
Well, either way here, it's looking good for Yeti. Members of Sonic starting to get their feet on the ground, however small of an amount here. Certainly redeeming, and hopefully will lead us into a more competitive match at the end of the day, as XSET fumbles a bit on their very first round of the defense. Ultimately just that first round, though. We're going to transition into a double bar hold where we're going to get a Tachanka pick for the first time, as well as a Thunderbird still being brought in specifically for use by Razor here, as they're going to extend that to some degree upstairs here and allow for that same aggressive capability for the players. They're going to be out and about away from the site.
Well, we're finally going to get to see the chunk, something that you said inside of the pregame that we're more than likely going to see because the smoke is gone. We didn't see it from the Sonics, but we will see it from XSET. Also, obviously, a recent buff to Chanka has made him a lot more palatable for these teams. Before, those fires were a little bit easier to just, honestly, just run through. I'll be very candid with you guys. You can just straight up run through them and try and combat the defense. But nowadays, they do quite a bit of damage, and we've seen it routinely on places like Oregon as well as Villa, but we're going to get to see it here on Coastline. Let's see how XSET wants to apply this. It's going to be on Prod and more than likely deep inside of sight, as he'll want to hold on to that utility. For the rest of XSET, they're going to be playing pretty spaced out here, especially for Office. We saw how important this space was for XSET to start things off on this very similar defense from the Sonics, but this time XSET has a few people around to try and assist the Rooney player in the likes of Filthy. At least have a counter angle here that could come in to assist him here inside of security. Filthy's going to start backing off. He's going to check blue window and actually walk it all the way back. Doesn't want to try and get too aggressive, as Grixer will be clearing things out, at least inside of security. Flashbangs in onto Razor here, and he's going to choose to back this off as well. Starting to delay some time here for the Sonics, but at least they'll stay up on their man.
Rexon continues to hold inside here now, going back to the drone work for just a couple of moments since the Sonics have the extra time to do so. This will be, for the most part, their staging ground for the rest of the execution, but they'll want to try and take up a few more positions, whether they're just outside of the blue and sunrise bar windows or the ability to insert from pool door somewhere else. You can see the top down still going to be controlled by XSET upstairs, so that will cause problems if Sonics go for the standard plan avenue of breaking through the wall that has been opened right on your screen there now. We'll see if Sonics will catch that, and more importantly, try to do anything to deal with it here. Filthy going to be caught by the Twitch drone, as he was actually trying to hide very deep in the site. Not something we see as a direct confrontation there in blue bar, but he'll be forced out after being droned away. And the first kill goes to XSET, but it is now translated by Yeti as he brings things back against NVK down to a 4v4. Kansan about to clash versus another member of the opposite team as well, but both of them kind of awkwardly walk away from each other as a nade is put between them.
Well, minimal time now for the Sonics. Try and get yet another round on the board here. They've gotten the breach open, but it's being played by XSET upstairs, and they're going to have to worry about this, although the Sonics, unbeknownst to the rest of XSET, simply just slaying them. Very pivotal positions for both of these last remaining members, though. Sonics seriously need some insight onto these positions. Might have gotten it from the Twitch drone there. We just saw Rexon hop off, but it could be a smoke in now. They're going to be playing things very close to the chest now. Creators will take down the initial frag here, but they have no idea that Filthy is in this space. He'll have to play it off of audio now. Doesn't have anybody inside of his office, I'm here to assume, as he'll be able to take down at least Grixer. He'll get the second as well, as no one's aware of the situation. And here for Obana, so we'll see if Super wants to have an effect on this back wall. But besides that, this is going to be the most defendable site by win rate here for the defense of XSET. Overall, inside of the NAL right now, this site is sitting at an 80% success rate. So could see the Sonics losing it out here, but don't count them out just yet. The Sonics have not been scared of a bounce back before. And honestly, I think that they are indeed prime. We'll have to see how this round goes, but they're going to be pulling a page from what we saw from XSET on their offense. Yet he'll be playing the Thatcher here, so we'll see if they can try and have some success with these EMPs, especially around this base area.
5 seconds left.
XSET a strong hold of the table to try to fend things off, as well as some resistance to the opening of the quad wall, or triple wall, as it'll be played this round. One panel is going to be left soft there for XSET to play against downstairs or potentially even VIP pushes. We'll see how all that pans out when the Sonics start to commit to their own bit of an execution here. It's going to be slow days once again from them, as we would always expect here in a siege round of this caliber. That first minute or so going to primarily be used by the Sonics just to see if XSET have anything trickier they need to watch out for before Sonics themselves begin taking that map control. And we can see one of those tricky things right now as Razor tries to isolate out a big window position, but Razor also realizing now there might be some info against him. Better just getting lucky and checking this, moving out of his potential kill box that it would have been a moment ago, but still not noticing that drone behind him. So as long as he continues to play here, there will be issues. The members of the Sonics already well know his position.
Well, slow and steady wins the race right now for the Sonics. Looking for a place for this Twitch drone right now, but it's not going to be as easy as it once was. And actually, I believe that this one's been hijacked, and we're currently having bot wars right now inside of the server. We've got a rogue Twitch drone taking out all of the Sonics drones right now. They've already lost 2 sets here. I don't know if anybody else has lost a drone. Obviously, Rexon has, so they're about halfway through this, as well as they're about halfway through the round. So the Sonics still haven't really found an initial, building place to actually start this off. They've still gotten inside of the east side of the building, so they'll at least be able to get something going here as NVK is going to start losing some of his life, and quite a bit of it actually, so he'll be forced back. And well, actually, Prod gonna end up losing his life as well. Grixer across the map is gonna be lurking around this space, and XSET not exactly ready for that. These angles starting to become very harsh for the defense as well, and this could end up leading to quite a few of these bodies falling on the rotation.
That's pretty much all the extended control gone for XSET now. They've got a little bit downstairs still, as you can see a couple of those silhouettes crossing past each other by Sunrise as well as Kitchen, but that's not a primary concern right now for the Sonics. They're moving in mainly through VIP as well as Hookah eventually. A 1-for-1 exchange will transpire, though, initially getting XSET back on their feet, but now losing it once again as things go down to a 4 versus 3. With only 40 seconds left, though, for Sonics to make the play, there is the possibility some things go unchecked, and that's where sneakier members of XSET could get away with their aggressive style that's still out and about right now for the 2 downstairs players. Filthy, most notably, going all the way up front white here. Potentially make a play against Aqua. I haven't seen it yet, but they are going to catch it now. As he goes back, though, it's a shot to the back instead to finish him off. Creators fends off the initial plant attempt, but now he's the only one left here in a 1v3. And he
on the pulse play this time around, or the Bandit. Instead, the Aruni comes into play.
But they're Rooney in the fold here for XSET. We're going to go back to a more normal type of setup that we've come to expect over the past few months, and all the utility and fixings that go along with it. I believe we're going to have that punched-in bulletproof camera setup going on there once they are able to work their way towards it, as that has been brought in here by Filthy. Away from that, though, still going to be that same upstairs hookah and billiards hold, so Sonic more than likely going to take their time on the execute yet again in order to establish appropriate positioning. So rerunning a lot of the same style here. Obviously some slight changes to how things will work out in the moment-to-moment action. Do the same thing here for the Sonics. They have no reason to change up their own game plan. It worked perfectly fine for them on the last round, so let's see them run it back one final time as they continue to try and pick up the other 75% of the rounds they need to bring this into overtime.
Well, it seems like XSET's pulled the kitty gloves off for this defense. We saw Sonics go with this northeast clear across, starting inside of Penthouse, and this is something that you would normally see for a full clear of the top floor. But this time, if they end up going for it, they're going to have to deal with a lot of set-up positioning here from XSET. MVK inside of Theater, Razor will be playing 90, and he's got a mirror window of his own. The laser gate there to support as well, and they've electroclawed both ends of this to make it even more difficult for Sonics to have any pressure inside of this space. This might prompt Super to start calling for something differently as well, but it's all up to the intel that they get, because that's going to affect his choice very, very heavily. 1 minute already away. As you can see, the Sonics really want to know what's going on before they put their first foot forward.
Razor maintains a position here just outside of VIP. He's got a lot to watch, though, as you can see right now. Anywhere from 4+ angles that he could get pushed from. He's got a massive amount of pressure on. Thankfully, his teammates are watching some of them, so he doesn't have to take care of all of them at once. But still, if a teammate is otherwise preoccupied, could still present an issue there. They try to sneak the drone in, and it looks like it does get it at the end of the day. Sneaks in the killing of the mirror window, and once again, that's the main angle the attackers had to worry about with regards to them getting immediately picked. They tried to go in through VIP. No longer is that as much of a concern. Certainly still going to be one, but option 1 now available for the Sonics. Speaking of option 2 here, Yeti nearly finding NVK trying to traverse his way across this spray. NVK will get aggressive upon that, but then transition to luggage when the pressure boils out to be a bit too much to deal with.
This has been so perfect from XSET so far, keeping everyone alive and keeping the Sonics begging for this initial pick. Razor tries to swing wide into a frag here, but he only deal quite a bit of damage to cans, and Rexon's also taken some heat elsewhere as well. Don't exactly know how this happened, but he's down to 1 HP currently. And with minimal time, this is looking like the round that if XSET was going to get something, it would have to be this one. As XSET has delayed quite some time, they've only lost Razor. Now Sonics have to get in and attempt to plant soon. And with minimal time, they have to get this set up almost immediately. Once again, they're going to be working this from the northeast, and they're hopefully hoping for some picks here from XSET in an overstep, but I highly doubt that's going to come in. They've done such a bang-up job of keeping everyone alive like we were talking about before, and now the Sonics simply trying to get this done through utility play. Frag grenades in, but nobody home when it comes to any of these plays. EMP's now out to try and cover the noise of everybody rushing up. Everyone needs to be gun up in this situation, and Filthy's going to get the initial cutoff, as well as NVK with a big 2K. It's all down to the lone soul of Grixer, and it doesn't matter. The Sonics lose their first game here in the NAL.
And it's to XSET of all teams here. Finally, after so long, this team is going to be able to pick up a matchup, and in convincing fashion as well. 7-3, reversing their own fortunes of previous matches here in Stage 3, as they had previously dropped games 4-7 and 3-7. Now, they get a 7-3 victory of their own to take home, and a heck of a lot to talk about here, as that was a heck of a game from XSET to finally